Back in 2015, Jason Fry wrote a survival guide for Jakku from the point of view of Rey. Looking through it, I found a lot of hints and clues to future content and learned a lot about Jakku in general, so here are 30 facts I pulled from that book. Rey lives in the Goazon Badlands. It sits in between Niima Outpost and the Kelvin Ravine on one side, and between Carbon Ridge and the Sinking Fields on the other. Jakku has limited vegetation, including plants called spine barrels and night bloomers. A Hapabor trail called the Pilgrim's Road leads to the sacred villages on the far side of Kelvin Ridge, like Tuanul, where Lorsan Tekka lives. A cybernetic woman called Old Meru lives on the Pilgrim's Road. Sounds like she's a reimagining of characters developed for the Force Awakens concept art. She may have served in the Galactic Civil War, as she has a tattoo of a Star Destroyer on her one flesh and blood arm. A human man dubbed the Sitter simply sits on top of a pillar in the sun near Rey's home. The Tito's provide him with food and protection for some unknown reason. There are rumors of an old Imperial base beneath the Carbon Ridge. This was confirmed in Empire's End when we learned of the observatory on Jakku. What's left of it is now guarded by people known as the Dead Enders. They're apparently insane and dressed in scraps of Imperial armor. Niima the Hutt is mentioned, who was also in Empire's End. Keep in mind, Rey's survival guide was written in 2015 and Empire's End wouldn't release until 2017. That's pretty impressive forethought. The AT-AT Rey lives in is called the Hellhound 2 from the Star Destroyer Interrogator, which is the same Star Destroyer we see her looting in The Force Awakens. Rey has an old Y-Wing computer that she uses to study starships and run flight simulations, which is how she learned to fly. The computer also allows her to learn alien and droid languages. The flight helmet she has was once the property of Captain Dosmit Rey of the Tirfon Yellow Aces. That's the same squadron Porkins flew in before joining Red Squadron. Although the last name is spelled differently, some fans have theorized Rey took her name from the former owner of the helmet. Rey built her speeder from scratch using pieces that she either scavenged or traded. She included a fingerprint scanner on it that would keep it from being stolen. Little is known about the Tito's, but according to Rey, they have sort of a hive mind. Their Lugabeasts are cybernetic beasts of burden manufactured on some other planet. Hapabors have reservoirs inside their body where they can store liters of water. Supposedly, the creatures are used throughout the Western Reaches for all kinds of jobs, including the transportation of royalty. Steelpeckers eat metal alloys that they can also store in their gizzards. There are a lot of theories about the Battle of Jakku, what happened, and why. We know the truth, thanks to Empire's End, but Rey talks about all the crazy theories that swirl around Niima Outpost. I'd love to hear what she thinks of Star Wars fans and their Snoke theories. Something we didn't see on Jakku in the movie is human remains, but Rey comments that there are bones and even some preserved bodies all over the Graveyard of Giants. Rey has read the manuals to every ship and ship system she can find, further explaining her abilities as a mechanic. Squatters have taken up residence in the Inflictor, the Star Destroyer that was once captained by Sienna Rhee in the book Lost Stars. The most valuable gear a scavenger can find can be reused in other starships. Unkar will trade the most portions for pumps, filters, impellers, valves, pistons, fuel injectors, inverters, capacitors, and bearings. All hardware that can be reused in almost anything. Batteries and power cells are also highly sought after because they can power blasters, droids, comlinks, and just about everything else. Rey once got 37 portions from what she could get out of one X-Wing. A droid at Niima Outpost will weld scavenged parts in exchange for a recharge, spare gas canisters, or a good joke. Crusher, who can be seen hauling parts in Niima, was once Unkar's best scavenger. But after a dispute, Unkar had his arms cut off, and they were replaced with aftermarket mechanical limbs. Rey has what looks like a postcard from Cloud City that reads, "Wish you were here." Niima Outpost was originally run by Niima the Hutt, which makes sense considering the name, but Unkar took over after a bounty hunter supposedly shot and killed her. At the time of the Battle of Jakku, she was still alive and serving as the head of a strange cult that operated out near the Jakku Observatory. But it's possible she could have died in the nearly 30 years since. Rey has a sketch of Sarko Plank in her journal. She's heard a rumor that he killed a squad of stormtroopers on a jungle planet, which is actually somewhat true. He was involved in a fight with some stormtroopers on Onderon with Luke Skywalker, which you can read about in Weapon of a Jedi. Constable Zuvio, the guy that got an action figure despite his blink and you'll miss it appearance in the film, is noted as being a decent guy and the only semblance of law Niima Outpost has. The journal ends with Rey's personal thoughts on what happened at the beginning of The Force Awakens. When she first yelled at the Tito capturing BB-8, she was actually yelling at him to get out of her territory. By claiming BB-8, she was showing the Tito that she wouldn't have anyone claiming anything of value in her home turf. Unkar offered Rey 60 portions for BB-8, which comes to about a month of food. 2 meals a day, I guess. Rey had actually heard of Chewbacca by reputation before she actually met him. Some Wookiee traders on Jakku once mentioned Chewie was an amazing hyperspace scout and a smart smuggler with a reckless human first mate who was always getting him into trouble. That's it for today. Hopefully you learned something new about Jakku or Rey or both. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and consider checking out my Patreon page. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.